Before we have a special episode with actor and Leica photographer Jeff Garlin, just to remind you, at the end of this episode, we're going to tell you all about the B&H Photography Podcast Leica Photo Challenge. This is an opportunity to win a $5,000 Leica Q2 digital camera. We'll have all of the details at the end of this episode. Stay tuned, but first, Jeff Garlin.
You're listening to the B&H Photography Podcast. For over 40 years, B&H has been the professional source for photography, video, audio, and more. For your favorite gear, news, and reviews, visit us at bnh.com or download the B&H app to your iPhone or Android device. Now here's your host, Alan Weitz.
Greetings and welcome to the B&H Photography Podcast. Today we welcome comedian, actor, producer, and photographer Jeff Garlin. As many of you know, Jeff is well recognized from the television shows The Goldbergs and Curb Your Enthusiasm. He's also appeared in numerous films, and he is also a talented photographer. Today, we're going to be speaking about his recent series, A Big Bowl of Wonderful, which was featured at the Leica Gallery LA early this year, and about his shooting style, his choice of Leica as his go-to gear, and his role as executive producer of the photography documentary Finding Vivian Mayer. Welcome to the show, Jeff. Pleasure to have you here.
It is an honor, and I enjoy your broadcasting voice.
Oh, thank you. Okay, we'll have to talk after the show. You've been shooting for about 15 years now, and you started with Nikon, you tried Micro Four Thirds, and now you're into Leica. And we'll come back to that later, but what got you into taking pictures in the first place? Because you obviously have a real passion for this.
What got me into it in the first place? I would say I was just inspired by Alfred Eisenstadt and Jim Marshall and Bresson, and I would have photography books, and then one day I said, I'm just going to start taking pictures, not thinking that it would be anything that I would show outside of my family, you know? And then it just sort of took off from there over time. I really had no intention of being, people buying prints of mine.
When you did start, what were you shooting? Was it just kind of around the house?
It was around the house. I remember my favorite camera early on was a D700. I love that with a 50 millimeter 1.4. And that one I discovered filming an episode of Entourage. The set photographer had a D700 and she showed me. I thought, oh, that's my next camera.
When did you grab the first film camera? Or
my first camera was a film camera. It was a Nikon F100.
And you want to walk us a little bit how you got to Leica?
Well, it was seeing Leica come up in stuff I was reading about Bresson, Jim Marshall, Alfred Eisenstadt. And I'm like, oh, what is this? My first Leica was an M3 with a 50 Summicron, an older Summicron lens. That was the first one. But the first 6 months of shooting it, I didn't have a clue, because you're going completely manual, And
you learned photography with that camera.
Yes. And so I relied heavily on the director of photography on Curb Your Enthusiasm, who understood how to use it. I would look to him all the time for my settings as I figured out, and a lot of F8 and B there,
Right, exactly.
Now, you still shoot film as well as digital. What's the percentage of film and digital, and why would you shoot one over the other? That's
a conversation that I'm having with myself right now, because I have a Leica MP, which is to me, a perfect camera. And it's black paint, which I love. And permanently on there, I have a 35 Summicron. My favorite length is 35. That's what I've jumped into. And here's the thing. I really have a strong opinion about this, which is good for the show. Shooting, everyone says you shoot film, you slow down, you think about what you're shooting. Well, there is no difference, except that I have to wind a little bit, between the way I approach film and digital. When I shoot digital, I don't look at my cards for weeks. So I'm slow. So is the reason everybody's so slow and thoughtful is because film's expensive? Because I still approach it the same way. I don't shoot rapid fire. I take my time, think about what I want to shoot, when I want to shoot it. And so what comes out with the grain and that look of film, black and white and color too. I'm not a big color film shooter, but when I shoot Tri-X, it's a certain look that I do prefer over digital. And I don't like spending a year in Lightroom. I don't even know what I'm doing in Lightroom. I hired somebody.
Me neither.
I hired somebody to help me curate the show and put it together and do the Lightroom work. An assistant, Sam, who still will work for me when I do something next. But I really am now thinking about not shooting film anymore.
On that topic, I got to ask you something because we're parallel in certain ways. You have a black
Yes.
MP film camera. I have two MPs. I'm worse than you. I have a chrome a la carte with blue leather on it. I just saw it and fell in love. And I have a hammer tone. And
what are you doing? Do you want people to stare at you?
It's something you don't want to switch lenses. But I also, I fell into the same trap that you have fallen into. Apparently, I have a monochrome. Now, mind you, I had to sell 2 grandkids and a kidney to get this thing.
I appreciate that.
Right?
And by the way, when I first started in Leica, there was not a lot of money flowing through my pocket.
Uh-huh.
And by the way, I do a lot of stuff with Leica. I get nothing for free. Do you know, I would say at least a third of my camera equipment, maybe even half, has been bought at B&H. So I'm like, I'm just like everybody else, like, wow, how much is that?
Yeah, right.
Well, there's a special place in heaven for you. I want you to know that. But here's the question I have for you now. You've been shooting film, and you obviously love film, and so do I. I learned on film cameras. I learned on a 4x5 camera zillions of years ago, and I went through all the formats. And now I was shooting color for a million years, went back to shooting digital, and 99% of the color, went back to shooting black and white a couple of years ago, medium format and 35. And then about 5 or 6 months ago, the monochrome came out and I had a test drive on it. And I just said, I have to have one. And I went and bought my own gear. But this camera is making me look at a lot of things differently because I have the image quality of not only medium format, but even approaching larger format.
Yeah.
I have the flexibility of 35. And if I put on a tripod and work slowly, I can get magnificent results without having to carry a lot of weight on my shoulders. Is this camera change you too?
Completely, because what it's making me do, I swear I'm not exact. So coming up, I shared my show in LA with Alan Schaller. Do you guys know who that is? Yeah. Alan's great and a great guy. And he uses only the monochrome and a 24 millimeter. That's his getup. And I've been thinking, I'm not even exaggerating, of selling all my equipment, which is a lot of equipment, and just using the monochrome and a 35 Summilux. And that's it. And only that camera has made me go completely in that direction. Like, what else do I need? Nothing.
It's so good to hear you saying this because I was starting to question my sanity. Okay, so there's 2 of us.
By the way, actually, everyone I know, every photographer I know who has that camera, it has really mess them up in the perfection and simplicity of it. And, it's like, it's perfect and it's simple. It's like everything you dreamed that you wanted in a monochrome camera from Leica. Because the M240 and the M9 monochrome, yes, they were pretty special, but not like this. This is actual perfect simplicity.
So I want to ask about that photo you took of Larry David in a car. I think it was in New York. And I heard that you'd switched that from color to black and white. And also that black and white kind of simplifies your decisions. You want to speak about that a little bit?
Most definitely. When I shoot on any set, on any movie or TV show I'm in, I constantly have a camera. And so Larry's used to it. And he doesn't think anything of it. So we're in a scene in a car. And I got my 35 and probably it was an M240, I'm guessing. Anyhow, we're, in the car for 3 hours. I have the camera below me. I start taking pictures. Now, I took this picture. It was the first picture I ever displayed in a show. It was for charity at Leica, and I submitted. Someone bought it. I only put up, everyone put up one picture, and it was color. Now, in the picture that was color, you focused outside of Larry's window is a car, and it's gold. It's really gold, and there's also a policewoman standing there. In the color, you really paid attention to Larry, yes, but both of them. And then I only thought afterwards, wow, that's so much better. That would be so much better in black and white. And I converted it to black and white, and it was perfection. You noticed the car, you noticed the policewoman, but everything was about Larry David backing up. And so, yes, however, there is a picture in my show, and only one. There's a few other color ones, but there's only one that it's of a fella who's dressed like Jesus at the Comedy Store in the hallway. And it is so beautiful in color, and the color makes it warm. Everything about it is perfect for color. Well, that's the only one in my entire show that wasn't black and white or wouldn't have been better in black and white.
And can you kind of change the way you see, if you know you're going to be shooting black and white, let's say you have the monochrome or film camera, do you see in shadows and tones?
I don't think about any of that. I think about, I swear to God, when I shoot, it's only about, oh, that's interesting. And then the only concern I have is making sure I have nice framing. That's it.
Yeah, that's something that comes up a lot. You mentioned that a lot about composition, which is important. Do you find it easy with the Leica as opposed to a DSLR? Because I go back and forth on that. What's your thought on that?
It's just a different way of thinking. I mean, shooting with a Leica is so much more active, and I feel part of a process. Whereas if I lift up a D810, great camera, and push my finger down, it's done. And it's great. And it might be as good as the other. So for me, when I shoot, it's all about the joy of the process. It's not about, because I never had a show before. I'm not thinking about, I don't care what the process is, because it's just about selling the picture or getting the good shot. No, I enjoy the process of Leica. So if you like lifting it to your eye and pressing, have a great time. And by the way, nothing wrong with that. I have a Leica Q, which is I've never even used it with manual focus. I only shoot it with autofocus. So it's really great. And I do get joy out of that, but not like I get from shooting an M.
I understand. To shift the conversation just a bit, you photograph a lot of people on set, and you have a lot of great photographs of people. You go onto a show, you take the camera with you, and if they say you can't take the camera, you tell them where to go, from what I understand.
Well, that's generally when I go on someone else's show or a talk show. They tell me you can't use your camera, and I say, well, then you know what's beautiful? You won't have to deal with me. I'm going to leave. And my camera goes with me everywhere.
That's perfect. So here's a question for you. You like getting people, you talk about getting people to put into their act a little bit, a little of their personality, their character, what you call that extra little 10%, but not much more, because then it becomes hammy. Do you also try to capture people just as themselves in that reflective moments?
By the way, I only try and capture people as themselves in self-reflective moments. When that little spin is put on is just something that certain performers feel the need to do. And it's all based on their comfort level as people and how well they know me. And that's always the back and forth. But I don't want If I have my druthers all the time, I don't want anyone doing anything. I want to just capture them in private, reflective moments.
Actually, I wanted to follow up on that. I had a question about that. Let's say, hypothetical, you see that nice reflective moment backstage or wherever, and then someone gives you a look. It might be a great look, but you were really hoping for that other thing. Does that bother you at all?
No. It is what it is. It is what it is. I'm an improviser. I just deal with the moment. And really, they don't make the pose before I've taken the picture. The camera's up at my eye and I'm setting the composition and I press down. That's whatever the moment is. If they're making a face before I even lift the camera or when I've just lifted the camera, it's going to be a terrible picture. And what I'll do is, and I've done this, I'll take pictures or pretend I'm taking pictures. And then the minute they let their guard down, I snap a few.
That gets me to something I was curious about. Recently we had Greg Gorman on our show, and he's photographed famous people forever. And he came out with an interesting comment. He said that most actors and actresses, a lot of them, are not comfortable in front of the camera if they're not in character. They don't know what to do with themselves. They're more comfortable if they could be this characterization. Do you find that too? I mean, do you like capturing people just totally out of character, or do you just let them go where they are?
See, I let them go where they are because I'm not thinking about them in character, comfort, this, that. I don't think. I just... obviously I'm thinking, my brain's working, but it's like, I want a picture of them right now. Boom, I'm taking the picture and I get what I get. And if they give me too much, I do wait until they're done with their little show. But here's the thing. I'm going to let you in on a secret. In general, comedians are very bright people. Very bright people. Actors, not so much. Actors, you can be dumb as, I'm not going to say names, but you can.
It's just us. You can mention names. It's just us.
No, but you can be dumb as a rock and be a great actor. You can't be dumb as a rock and be a great comedian. It just doesn't go. So, generally, when an actor, that's why actors, to me, in general, with very few exceptions, are the worst guests on a talk show. Because they've already been with the producer, worked out everything. Here's a story, here's this. Because they don't know how to just be and riff. And whereas some comedians like having it all planned out. I know for myself, I'll do a courtesy pre-interview with someone from a talk show, but I don't talk for more than, less than 5 minutes. And I say, I don't want to know. And also, I don't want to know what they're going to ask me. I want to know nothing because I know I'll be in the moment and I'll be funny and interesting because that's what I do. But yes, most actors, they do put on a thing because they got nothing underneath.
No. I wanted to follow up a little bit about this idea of being comfortable. And was there a learning curve for you? I mean, when you first brought that camera to your eye?
Most definitely. No, it's of course, it's like, that's why, my hit rate improved over the years because I learned what I was doing. I mean, early on, with my D700, I'm taking pictures and all I'm trying to do is figure out how to get bokeh. You know what I mean? Like, how do I get her head there and have everything, like stuff like that, and that's with an autofocus camera. So yeah, that's okay. So here I am with my first show this past year. And prior to that show, I would say, and I'm not exaggerating, less than a handful of people had ever seen my photography. So I respected the learning curve. I respected it's going to take me a long time to get to a place that I would even remotely feel comfortable with someone looking at my work. Because if I could have done my first 10 years of stand-up comedy and developed the way I developed and no one ever saw me, what a treat. If there was a way of doing that. In comedy, there's not. You have to learn in front of an audience. Me, I take pictures and if it doesn't work out, only I know.
Yeah. But even with that idea of being comfortable, I mean, did you ever lift that camera to your eye at the beginning and then put it away, a little bit of shy, not wanting to kind of identify yourself as a photographer?
Number one, the shyness, which you say that and you think, here I am, this gregarious comedian guy. Man, I was so awkward in taking anyone's picture. I wanted to ask permission. I wanted to have a signed permission just emotionally. Of course, I was very shy and not confident at all. Everything for me is about confidence. Like, I'm not even completely sure how good a photographer I am, even though I just had a show and people told me, a lot of people bought my prints. But to me, you get confident over time. And it's comedy and photography. There's no ego for me. None.
That's great. What have you learned maybe from being photographed? I mean, have you watched other photographers and say, that's not what I want to do?
Yes.
You know, I mean,
yes. There are photographers that I have dealt with that want you to know they're there. And it's like, oh no. And then they'll push for like faces and reactions. It's like everything that I learned about shooting people, I would say, because, well, actually I learned a lot because it's me shooting them and there is a unique relationship that way. But I learned what not to do from photographers who were way, way, way too active. And by the way, that also goes with the reason I like shooting a monochrome is it's so discreet. Discreetness is everything. And I love street photography. The unfortunate thing for me is I get recognized, but I love street photography. And then there's the reverse. Let me even go into another area. I purposely sign my photos on the back. I have some Mary Ellen Mark. I have a couple of her prints signed the back. Bresson was a back guy. I don't want anything to interfere. By the way, I have a lot of photography hanging in my house, and some of it signed in the front by people I love. So it doesn't ruin it for me. It's just a choice that I made. A guy took a beautiful picture of me at my opening night. He came later to one of my talks at the Leica Gallery and gave me the photo. Now, mind you, it's an 8.5 by 11. His signature was almost as big as the picture.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I will never hang up this picture. As a matter of fact, I kind of want to give it to someone. I feel bad throwing it away, but it ruined the picture for me. So I think any attention to a photographer on the front end, taking the picture, or the back end, too much, because we're talking about a picture. And you should remove, unless the self-portrait is part of it, you should remove yourself in all ways from the photo, to me.
Yeah, I like that idea. I mean, have you, I think a lot of us have kind of gone through that whole exact same kind of decision-making process. I certainly remember thinking, do I sign the front? Do I sign the back? Do people care who really took the picture? You know, those kind of issues. And it sounds a little bit like, you know, photography offers you a little bit of a way to be anonymous, you know?
Without a doubt. Oh my God. That's what's thrilling. Numerous people told me the only thing disappointing about my photo show was that I wasn't in it. And I'm like, what kind of idiot would I be shooting myself? I understand, by the way, I produced the Vivian Maier movie and I have one of her self-portraits. I'm actually looking at it right now in a weight machine, one of those weight machines you put the quarter in and there's a mirror. And she took, this is from the 40s, I think, or 50s. And she took a self-portrait. But you don't really see her face. The camera's in front of her face. Mm-hmm. But I love that. That's fine. But what kind of idiot has a lot of pictures? I understand, by the way, someone going, like, what's his name's got a book of self-portraits, but they're not like vain self-portraits.
Right.
I'll think of
Freelander?
Cindy Sherman does that.
It's Lee Freelander. I have that book. Yep.
Yeah, that's a great book. And it sounds like, you're going to have to get used to talking about your photography. It sounds like you don't really like to talk too much about it.
I don't. Here's the thing about comedy as well as my photography. You may, while we're here, ask me a question where I'll say I don't want to talk about that, because that'll get me into my head too much. As an actor, as a stand-up, as a photographer, I am all about trusting my instincts and my gut in a situation and being present, which is important in all of them. When I do stand-up, I'm in control, but I'm not. The audience is in control. So the way I perform is based on what the audience gives me. Same with taking a photo. It's a give and take. And so I don't want to be thinking at any point too much about certain things.
All right, we're going to take a short break to go feed the pigeons, and we're going to be back again with Jeff Garlin. Stay tuned.
We hope you're enjoying this edition of the B&H Photography Podcast. The best way to support the show is by subscribing on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. For links to gear and more information on today's guests, check out the show notes in your podcast app or visit our homepage on the B&H Explorer website and join the B&H Photography Podcast Facebook group. And now, back to the show.
Okay, we are back. Jeff, I have a question for you. You mentioned framing a lot and the importance of composition. If you could talk a little bit about that, and also I'll tack another question onto that. Do you ever crop your pictures?
Nope. I never crop. It's minimal post-processing. I don't use lights. I don't use a flash. Everything is about natural lighting. Or when I'm on set, there's already lighting, which is great. I'm not going to argue with beautiful lighting on actors or crew members. I'm all good with that. But no, and I don't crop. I never, ever crop. It's just who I learned from, the masters, They never cropped. They might have, but not. You know what I'm saying?
If you don't see the contact sheets, you don't know.
Yeah, but I got to tell you, most of my heroes, I've got books of their contact sheets. So, yeah. And Vivian Mayer, I've seen all her contact sheets. And by the way, the thing that was amazing about Vivian Mayer, over any photographer, including the best of all time, is her hit rate. When you see her contact sheets, these amazing pictures that she took were one of one. And on a page of 24, 36, whatever it was, there are at least, I'll tell you what, her worst contact sheet, half of them you'd want hanging in your house. It's nuts. It's nuts. And by the way, it's higher than that. That's the lowest percentage is half of them. It's crazy. Wow.
And when you shoot film, do you get contact sheets? Do you look at them through a loop, or you just go right to a scan? And
I've gotten contact sheets, but I think that the best way for me is to get small prints to look at them. So I have to have it printed, and I look at the prints, and that tells me the story. And then I will, put it into digital because I'll scan it.
Right. What would you call your success rate on when you're shooting, if I may ask? In other words, you mentioned that Vivian Mayer, she was nailing it every single shot. If you were to take, say, 100 photographs or 20 pictures, how many of those on average would you make you happy?
I would say per contact sheet, one picture makes me happy, and per a half dozen contact sheets, one of them is actually something worthy of someone else seeing. So how's that for me compared to Vivian Mayer? One a page would make me happy, and then 6 contact sheets, one of those shots I'd actually want to show to somebody.
Yes, but you have to think of the reverse of that. Look at it through her eyes. She might say, look at this. I got so much printing to do. But Jeff, one picture on a roll of film and he's good. Me, I'm going to be up all night printing. Him, he's going to get sleep tonight.
No, I don't look at it that way because Vivian Mayer took her stuff to a photography store and had it printed. So she was not up all night. And she was a nanny who took pictures, who didn't know that she was a genius. Or maybe she did. She was mentally ill. That was the problem with her.
What's the actual story of that?
No, she was definitely way over on the spectrum, like way over. And she had trouble coping. She had coping problems, and she was a hoarder, hoard newspapers. And I mean, really, she was, I mean, one of my favorite things was the kids were late to school that she was in care for. She stopped the milk truck, had them get in the milk truck, and she rode on the back of the milk truck to school to make sure they got there. Like, that's crazy. She also pretended she was a spy. And, you know, she wasn't warm and friendly. So,
you know, I've seen a couple of the photos you took of performers on stage. And then, of course, there's several of people backstage or in more of a calmer moments. Do you kind of flex different muscles when you're there? Because, you know, getting that in the moment shot of somebody, like there's one of John Mulaney I saw that I thought was great on stage. How do you feel about that?
I'll tell you the answer. The answer is there is no difference between standing in the dark behind a piano, behind a curtain, getting a shot of John Mulaney than there is to sitting with John Mulaney in the dressing room and taking a picture of him. My approach is exactly the same. Exactly. Get the framing.
And would you shoot more or less, you think, if you're in that stage type of setting?
I shoot more when I'm shooting people on stage than I do. And that's mostly because I have a sense of what I've got when I shoot in a dressing room or backstage. And when they're on stage, I'm not really sure. So it's more of not being sure.
Any chance that you ever compare notes with Jeff Bridges, because he has a kind of a aesthetic similar to yours?
He has a wide lux. I actually have one of his photos hanging in my house. So
you know him, okay.
His last book that just came out, Book Soup, the great bookstore here in Los Angeles. I did an interview with him for the public, a conversation. And I know him. I mean, we're not friends, we're acquaintances, but I knew him before that. But yes, I talked to him about photography in the moment. But he also shoots like I do in terms of he's not thinking. He's like, oh.
It's all like that. He feels the picture.
He's like, I'm bored here. Oh, where's my camera? Boom, you know.
Kind of getting back to this idea of you know, shooting when the feeling strikes you. Do you find that your first image is often the keeper?
Yes, without a doubt. I would say 75% of the time, the first shot, I'll even go higher, 90% of the time, the first shot is the best shot.
Yeah.
It's a lack of confidence that makes. So if I'm shooting Jeff Bridges, one of a shot of him from the night that we had our conversation is in my show. And I think I shot 3, maybe 4 of him. And I got to tell you, I would have stopped after 1 if I knew what I was doing. I mean, you know what I mean? If I felt that confidence, which I'm working towards.
Now, I also heard you mention that you don't always have a camera with you, that you can go for weeks on end and not have a camera, and it's okay with you.
No exaggeration. Since my show went up, I've not taken a picture. I've not, because also I've not done much stand-up. And obviously, since the pandemic, not taking pictures because I have a friend, Pamela Sisson. She's on Instagram, Pamela Sisson. She lives downtown LA. She is taking the most beautiful shots of downtown Los Angeles where there's nobody. People said you probably can, and I've had people say this to me, you probably can take great pictures of, you know, quietness. But that's not my interest. That's not what I'm good at. I'm good at people and exchanging with people. So, but for me, just like stand-up, photography is something that is creative. Therefore, in order for me to take pictures, I got to feel loose and creative. And I'm not right now. I'm ready to go. But I needed to take a good month or two to rest after Curb Your Enthusiasm, the Goldbergs, my photo show, and my stand-up special on Netflix, which just came out, Our Man in Chicago. I was burnt. And when I have no energy, I don't want to be taking a picture. So I'm not taking a picture because it's my job. I'm not taking a picture because it's a need. I'm taking a picture because it brings me joy and I want to take a picture.
What about pictures of like your family and your kids and just kind of around the house? Do you apply kind of the same method that you do when you're shooting more seriously, quote unquote?
Yeah. When I shoot my family, it's because I'm inspired. I'm not, my boys are 20 and 24. I have lots of pictures of them, but I got to tell you, the only person, I'm divorced now, but I'm very close with my ex. She's never liked me taking her picture. My older boy, who's 24, has never liked it. My 20-year-old, who's kind of like my muse, I have so many pictures of him. He loves having his picture taken, and he's not a vain dude, and he's not a dude. He's very shy, but for whatever reason, he is comfortable with me taking pictures. And I have some beautiful photos of him, and I've got great photos of my ex and my older boy. But it's all about inspired then. Certainly when children are little, you're taking every picture of everything. And it's not because it's creative. It's because you just want that. So.
Yeah, I heard that you're a big fan of Jim Marshall's work, and we had his
very much so,
his former assistant and who now runs his archive on our show, and there's this great new documentary out about him.
Yeah, they interviewed me for the documentary, but I didn't make the cut. I got to thank you.
Oh,
I got to thank you, which is cool.
Could you send us the piece they didn't put in? We'd love to see it.
I don't know what they did, but by the way, I might do something with them.
Yeah, that'd be great. And that was kind of leading me to ask a question about the Vivian Maier doc and how you got involved with that. Were you familiar with her work, and you said I like to get involved, or
No. Well, with the Jim Marshall one, Amelia Davis is the woman who. Amelia approached me, and I told her, I met her at the Leica Gallery, and I told her how much Jim's work meant to me. So boom, I was involved with that. And I've got a great friendship with her and Alfred George Bailey, who made the movie. But the Vivian Maier, I'm in Chicago watching PBS, the local PBS, not knowing the real big story, but seeing the photos. And they're playing at like one of the libraries, it's not playing, but it's at one of the local libraries in Chicago, the Harold Washington Library. And I go there to look at it, and I'm like, my God. And so I went to the website, I contacted John Maloof, and we had like lunch, and he told me the story, and I said, you should make this into a documentary. He said, I've been trying, and I said, well, how about I produce it for you, and you don't have to pay me a thing, which is always a weird offer, and just when we're done, give me some prints. And he said, great. And so I teamed him up with another producer who ended up, Charlie Siskel, it was so personal to Charlie Siskel because he grew up where she was a nanny. And so much of her videos and pictures she took were things that he knew and recognized. So they co-directed it, and I just protected them. I hooked them up with, first we had a deal with Netflix, but at the time Netflix wasn't doing any theatrical releases. So I got them a deal with independent film, IFC, and they released it. And all I did was I'd give them notes, but I said, you do what you want, because we did have one. It was a disagreement. It wasn't an argument. It was a disagreement. And I still stick to what I thought, and I'll tell you what that is in a second. But My job, because what I did for them is like when I learned what not to do as a photographer, sometimes from some photographers in the way I shoot people, I protected them the way I'd want to be protected on any project that I go on, because that's the job of a producer, is producing something and letting somebody feel comfortable. I think that's what I've learned to do. Now, the thing that we argued about, it was one thing. And by the way, what's great about my position on that movie is that I can tell people the movie's great because I didn't make it. Like I'm really proud of my stand-up special. I'm going to be the last person to tell you it's great. I hope it is. I hope people dig it. And I'm happy with my work. But I think Vivian Maier is great. The only discussion we had, one of the young ladies that she became older, women that Vivian took care of, seemed a little bit off. And she was talking about physical abuse from Vivian, yet every other child said emotional abuse. Do you know what I mean? And the story that she told, I didn't believe it. And the filmmaker, thinking too much, thought, no, I need to have something contradictory. And he was wrong, because I remember I was sitting next to Diane Keaton, is a great friend of my ex-wife, and Diane's done documentaries, and she's wickedly smart, and she's sitting next to me. And when that woman's telling her story, she leaned over to me and went, "She's lying. You know that, right?" And I went, "Oh, God. All right, there you go." But, that was the only thing. Other than that, it was just protecting them, with their vision. And that included going with IFC instead of Netflix because they wanted to be in the theater, which they were right. A lot of times I think bird in hand, but they got nominated for an Academy Award. They were completely right.
Yeah, that story took off. So it really was her story and that incredible kind of, I don't know, the discovery of the photos in the locker and then the images themselves that got you interested.
Oh, yeah. It was the pictures themselves that really pulled me in. And then when you hear the story, you're like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, interesting. Well, it's funny regarding the Jim Marshall thing, because, you're talking about loyalty and protection. That was one of the things that stuck to me from that documentary, was how loyal he was to his subjects and a lot of the, the compromising almost images he could have shown of rockers back in the day.
Without a doubt. And by the way, I would never show something to be titillating or people, but that's also why people are comfortable with me. They know that nothing is coming out of that's not going to be worthwhile for someone to see and have some depth.
Here's what question I have for you. Now, you talk a lot about photographers. You obviously understand photography. You understand what makes a good photograph, and you're aware of a lot of good photographers. Do you remember the first picture that made you stop and consider photography other than just snap shooting? I know I remember what made me take notice of photography.
Well,
do you?
I would say that there's I'll tell you whose work. Alfred Eisenstadt is someone that really profoundly affected me. I have one picture of his, but my wife owns it. We bought it. We were married. She got to keep it, which is cool. I'm all good. I can see it whenever I go over there. But I would say the one that profoundly affected me, Johnny Cash, Folsom Prison, giving the finger. That emotional moment was so real. Because by the way, after I saw that picture, I gave the finger constantly whenever I was photographed, and especially if I didn't like the photographer. A lot of times I'll say to people, "Do you have a sense of humor?" And they, yeah. So when I sign something, I go, "Fuck you. Go fuck yourself, Jeff Garlin." But that picture of Johnny Cash was so exciting to me, not in a titillating way, but to me, he's given the finger, and I'm not feeling a big fuck you, but I'm feeling an emotion, and I'm feeling like I'm Johnny Cash, and I'm playing here at the prison, and fuck you, and that caught me, and so that was the one.
You know the background to that picture, why he did that?
I've read it. I have the book and I've read the story, but remind me.
Jim Marshall was taking, and he actually shouted out to him. He said, "How about one picture for the warden?"
Okay, that's great.
That was for the warden.
That's great. And what a fun thing to say to a subject. Like my favorite thing to say to kids when I shoot them, I'll shoot them. But when I have a group of kids, I go, kids, look at me like you hate my guts. Like you can't believe that I'm taking your picture. You're furious. Boom. I have so many great pictures of kids looking angry. I actually could do a book of it. I think it would get boring after a while, but there will be a time where I'll show those. But anything you can say to your subject to give them imagination, to let them play. For example, I've been told many times by photographers, can you smile more? Can we see your teeth? Make a goofy face. What? By the way, the number of times that I've been told to make a silly or goofy face, I literally, now, if you say it to me, I'll say, have a great day. I'll see you later. But back then, I didn't make the goofy face for sure. I just said, this is what I got, you know. But if you use imagination, like one for the warden, beautiful.
I wanted to follow up a bit on Alan's thought. Is there a photo of yours or a moment of yours taking pictures when you said to yourself, you know what, this is, I'm not too bad at this and I really enjoy it and I'm, you know, I'm taking that step to being something real.
Because that's too much thinking. I either look at a picture and I dig it, and then there's that would be like a star, and then I jump to the 4 or 5 stars, whatever it is, on Lightroom if I think it's something someone else will dig. In my house, I have pictures. I don't want to give too much away, but I have a lot of beautiful original photographs. I have one picture hanging in my house. It's one from my show of the crew of the Goldbergs, and we're getting ready to start shooting. And in one of the camera lenses, you see Wendy McClendon-Covey, and then another one you see just basically a little bit of my head, but mostly my camera. And but the crew and the framing of it, every time I see it, I can't believe it. That sold more than any, outside of Larry David photos, that one sold more. And that's the only one that's hanging in my house. By the way, that shot that I told you about from the Goldbergs was taken with my brand new M10 and my 50 APO. And I was first using it and I shot, just to have fun, I used JPEG black and white with my RAW. So that, after a day of shooting, I went home with the card and I kept all the JPEGs in black and white. A week or two later, I had a movie premiere for this movie I made called Handsome. And at the theater, I left my camera under the seat. And I went back and it was gone after the movie was over. And I was heartbroken because I lost all these photos, including, I thought, that particular photo. And I was lucky that I took it off with my, from the JPEG. So that's a JPEG black and white that I shot. So yeah, it was stolen. And then Leica helped me get a discount on a new M10, and a new lens, which was very kind of them.
Nice.
That's the only time I got a discount, but they were showing pity on me.
So I have a question for you. You mentioned that you were shooting with an M10, which is a color camera, but you're previewing it in monochrome. Do you do that a lot?
No, that was just me playing around with the camera. There was no,
okay.
So when I'm shooting, in general, I have, of course, used the preview in black and white and shot like with the Q, only black and white. I don't like doing that. I look through it, what it is. And even when I'm in the moment. So when I'm holding up, obviously, an optical viewfinder, I'm seeing things in color, but I'm not thinking about it. When I'm holding up like a Q or my SL2, I'm not thinking about it. I'm only thinking about the moment and the framing. It's only later on where I go, oh, this stinks in color. Or, I shoot it in black and white and I go, that one would have been better in color, But in general, black and white rules the day for me.
Won't argue on that.
And you mentioned 35 is your go-to lens.
Yes. I have a 50, a 75, and a 24, and I have the Q, so I have a 28. But the majority of time that I lift up the camera, a 35 is attached to it.
And do you think that corresponds to kind of how you see?
It is, because you get used to it. It's a tool, and you know what the framing is on a 35,
Yeah. And do you decide at the beginning of the day, okay, today's going to be my 50 millimeter day, and I'll just happen to do that? Or do you make any
I don't bring equipment with me. I mean, lenses with me, which I think is just, then it's a whole different adventure. It's a different way of doing photography as far as I'm concerned. I know people have their pack. They have the different things. For me, I like interpreting it with the one lens. And so I'm just thinking about taking the picture. I'm not thinking about anything else. That's why Leica, an M monochrome doesn't matter. It makes things simple. It just keeps things simple for me.
Okay, Jeff, it's we've been recording over an hour right now. It just flew right by. We talked about a lot of different things. If people want to see more of your work, where can they go?
Nowhere. They can they can contact the Leica Gallery, and I'm sure they'll send you photos that you can buy. At some point, I'm going to be up at the Tamarkin Gallery in Chicago. That's the next stop. And I know I'll be doing a New York stop, a Boston stop, I think a Miami stop. But first, we have to have the pandemic stop.
Yeah, for sure. Well, when you hit New York, we're definitely going to pile in there and say hi and create chaos for you.
Oh, well, by the way, I'm on Instagram, Jeff Garlin, and I hope it's something that I curate that's remotely interesting. Here, jeffgarlin.com. I'm going to be having my work up there, as well as people can buy not like prints, like numbered prints like you'd get from Leica, but much less expensive. Not all my photos, but there'll be 2 or 3 that'll be available for people to buy. But that's down the road. That's not up yet. But jeffgarlin.com is up, and that is the first place to look for anything that concerns me. That and Instagram.
Very good.
By the way, I'm very proud of my Netflix special, Our Man in Chicago, on Netflix. They publicize it for a week, and then it just lives. It's there. So if you don't know about it and you dig me, don't be surprised. But just type in Jeff Garlin, it'll pop up. I'm crazy proud of it, and the Goldbergs and the Curb season that you can still watch, and hopefully more Goldbergs, more Curb. I'm very blessed and happy.
Great. Jeff, it's been absolutely terrific having you on here on the show. Great talking with you, and love your attitude on taking pictures.
Oh, thank you.
I get it.
I appreciate that. Enjoy your good looks, fellas.
Okay, the moment you've been waiting for after much anticipation. We are excited to announce the B&H Photography Podcast Leica Photo Challenge. To thank our loyal listeners, maybe reach out to some new subscribers and inspire some safe creativity during these challenging times. We are excited to bring you this incredible photo contest in which one lucky listener is going to receive their very own Leica Q2 digital camera. If you're like us, which no doubt many of you are, you've already been taking pictures during the shutdown. And if you haven't been shooting, it's definitely not too late to start. I say this because for this contest, we're looking for pictures taken specifically during this time, pictures that reflect the challenges or perhaps a few slices of joy during this current pandemic-related shutdown. Whether you've spent this difficult time in the company of your loved ones, or you've been separated from them, as many of us have used our cameras to find solace and maybe a bit of understanding of the world we now live in. Judging will be based on subject matter, overall composition, creativity, and post-processing. You can include a caption to go along with your picture, or if you don't want to, you don't have to. Now, we are not encouraging, nor will we consider images taken in public places. Entry photos must be taken inside or near your home, indoors, backyards, front yards, all okay. Don't do anything silly. Don't do anything dangerous. Here's how the contest is going to work. Step 1. If you haven't already, rate and subscribe to the B&H Photography Podcast on Apple Podcasts, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, or your favorite podcast app. And if you're already subscribed, congrats, you're halfway there. Okay, step 2, now that you are subscribed, head on over to Twitter and follow at Leica Camera USA and post one photograph with the hashtag BHPhotoPodcastLeica. That's it. The entry period is May 28th, 2020 through June 21st, 2020. And again, the grand prize is a Leica Q2 digital camera. I've shot with the Q2, fixed crazy sharp Summilux 28mm spheric lens. It opens up to a fast f1.7 and it focuses down to a few inches from the front element, a 47 megapixel full frame CMOS sensor, and it is an amazing, amazing camera. The judges will be Leica photographers Craig Semetko, Ashley Stahl, and yours truly. Check the show notes for a link to everybody's bio and samples of their wonderful work. Good luck, Godspeed. My name is Alan Weitz, and as always, on behalf of John and Jason, thank you so much for tuning in today.